Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another DIlem-Monday. We've made it another week. Happy Passover, everybody. We have been talking about doing this episode for a few months. We're very excited to talk about tragedy tonight. It seems to be a common theme on this show: death, destruction, despair, and doom. We love that. And ironically, I'll get to that. But 113 years ago this evening, the unsinkable ship, sank. Sending generations of people into a flurry of fascination. And ironically, you'll notice one of our co-hosts is not here this evening, and we'll get to that a little bit. We're talking about the Titanic, and our co-host James is currently on a cruise ship. We love that. So I have a few updates from him that I'll share during the evening. But yeah, I want to welcome with us. We will have Steff Rennie coming in a little bit, but I want to welcome back to DIlem-Monday, resident or nerd in residency, Titanic expert. I love this man, Bill. Thank you for coming back and joining us.
Love you back, my friend. Thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
Hell yes. I know that the second we got off the air the last time with you, you're like, I have an idea.
Yeah, instantly.
And I was like, this is a great idea. Because again, it seems like we've spoken about a lot of people dying lately, so why don't we talk about a ton of people freezing in the mid-Atlantic? It'd be a great time.
Yeah, a ton of people freezing really quickly in the mid-Atlantic.
I love that. I like, at least it was quick.
Yeah.
At least it was quick. But yeah, no. So no, we're pretty hyped. We've got a lot. There's a bunch of things going on. I just saw from just a sports report here a few moments ago. It appears that Paige Beckers has been drafted #1 overall pick, and she will be going to Dallas. She will be on the Dallas Wings.
That was the least surprising news bit around.
Listen,
if she didn't get picked by Dallas as the first pick, that would have been a news story. But yeah, no, that was an absolute. Everybody knew it. Not a big deal. But thank you for bringing that to everybody's attention.
Like I literally just got the notification. I wanted to make sure, we're doing our best here, right?
I heard she's going to make more money playing the 3-on-3 league in one season than she will with a 4-year contract. That's the league where the two dudes play with the girl, and there's like 4 players or 5 players on the team, but it's 3-on-3. It's kind of a weird league, but
I dig that. That's cool. That's like a whole other there's a whole other element to that. That's cool.
It's usually like a washed up NBA guy, a G League guy, and then G League is like the minor leagues of basketball. I saw Dave's face there. It's
where Bronny James plays.
Yes, Bronny James has played more games G League than he has NBA. So, but it is good for Paige. I'm happy for her. So that's cool. This Titanic episode was kind of ironically funny today. So James, as we know, is sailing by icebergs right now by Alaska. And by coincidence, this morning I got so my wife and I are going on a very similar cruise in July that James is on. And I got a thing from Celebrity Cruise Lines today if I wanted to upgrade my room. And I'm like, well, let's see. They have this whole thing that you could bid on a room, that to upgrade. And it really wasn't good bidding. So I decided to call Celebrity and see if they had better rooms above mine. And it turned out that for $5 more, I could get like this beautiful suite. And I'm like, that's a no-brainer. So then as I'm doing that, she's like, do you know that today is the day that the bill is due? No, but I guess why wouldn't April 14th and April 15th be the due date of all money that comes out of my my accounts? So that was a good $4,600 this morning. I knew it was nothing. I just not happy about giving it away.
No,
Who
not ready
is?
for it just yet. Yeah.
Well, especially because the cruise isn't until July, so you have to like pay and
Right. Yeah.
And-
Oh yeah.
and that's only a piece of it. I already paid most of it. So, but I'm looking forward. So I've mentioned before on the show, I've been to 47 states. I have never been to Alaska, which I will now be able to say I've been to. I've also never been to Victoria, Canada, so that'll be cool that I'll get to go there. But I've never been to Hawaii or North Dakota. As Corey said, no Riemann man. My dad went to 49 out of the 50 states because he believed North Dakota just doesn't really exist.
Kind of like I don't believe that Buffalo's really an actual city, but and the reason why I want to be the first American, or the first Riemann man to go to North Dakota, I'm going to be the guy. I'm bully, baby. It's Teddy Roosevelt. I want to go to his library. He's got his national park there. He's got his library. I am going to be the first Riemann in North Dakota. I'm going to kiss the ground when I step foot there. It's going to be great.
Although that would give me something too. Like I did something more than my father for the first time. Like, yes.
Let me have something in my life. Let me have something.
Yes, you're a very underprivileged, spoiled person.
Yes.
Deprived. I meant deprived.
I'm deprived. Yes.
Dave's like, yeah, I remember seeing a few guitars in the house yesterday.
There's only 100 of them.
Some behind Bill as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill has a collection.
Corey's excess, or does Bill have his own?
Yeah, Corey loads me his when he's tired of them, and then I have to give them back. Though that's the catch.
Absolutely. It's like a blood exchange program, like what's his face, Lance Armstrong.
Blood dope.
Just like Lance, except no bites.
Just like and two nuts.
All right. Okay. Moving on.
That was a statement.
Yeah. So, anyway, the
Do you think that ever made him ride faster?
Yeah, I'm sure that's why he won the Tour de France. It had nothing to do with training and bloodletting, or dating Sheryl Crow, which is pretty cool.
No, like, hey, he was soaking up the sun, soaking up other things but you know.
Okay, that's going down really quickly here.
Like Alanis Morissette in the theater.
Okay, you're. So tell me why we're doing the Titanic today, besides everything else. Besides, I think Bill is the resident expert. Tell me where your fascination begins with this large sunken ship.
So it begins about 30 plus years ago at this point. I was probably 4. And my parents had some friends that had an older son, maybe 2 or 3 years older than I was, and we were at their house one time visiting, and I was playing with this other kid, and he was interested in it, and he had a movie going on in the back. I don't even remember which movie it was in the background. I can tell you it was not A Night to Remember, because that's one of my favorite movies ever. But he had something on in the background, and I remember him explaining it to me. And because he was older, I thought it was cool. So I looked into it more, and pretty soon my parents got me a book, and that's
the
where
Titanic nerd was born.
Yeah. So we were recently cleaning out my parents' garage, and they had some work from like preschool me, and we had a journal that we had to draw pictures in, and it was, you could kind of like pinpoint the day that the seed was planted, because it was like January 3rd, this is a flower. January 4th, this is a happy face. January 5th, Titanic sinking. January 6th, also Titanic sinking. January 7th, also Titanic sinking. So it was like, all right, well, I know that this started on January 5th, 1992 or whatever.
So here's the question. So your parents now know that you're kind of freakishly involved with this ship.
Yeah,
so,
freakishly is an accurate description. Thank you.
So did they say at that point, you know what, Bill, I want to take you on a cruise ship, but we're going to take you maybe in a tropical area so that you don't have to worry about it. This,
no icebergs,
and not Bermuda either.
Right. No, you'll just have to worry about the sharks instead of the icebergs. But no, I actually didn't get on a cruise until I graduated high school.
And what was your first cruise?
Down to Florida and the Bahamas. We sailed out of New York with Norwegian, and then
so you did the whole Cape Hatteras thing, and you know.
Yeah. So we went down. It was like a day at sea down the coast, and then we stopped at Port Canaveral and got off and did NASA and all of that stuff, and then went on to the Bahamas and a private island and all of that. My first,
and that was with your parents and like family.
Yeah. It was actually I had graduated the year before, so it was my sister's graduation present. We all went as a family. My first time.
So was it a wow? This is what I think it would be like to be on the Titanic before it sank, kind of thing, or was it wow? Not really what I like. I'm a little depressed.
No, for me it was like, wow, this is there's a whole lot more to do here than there was on Titanic. But it's a separate thing in my head. The cruise ship is like a vacation destination in itself, whereas an Atlantic crossing, an ocean liner is a ferry on steroids. And
Dave, have you ever been on a cruise?
Yeah, I did one. The first one was actually to Alaska, probably along the same lines of what James is doing right now, and it included a stop in Victoria, which is a really nice city. And then one similar to what Bill was just describing, like Florida, Bahamas, Caribbean, just for half a week.
So did you, on your first cruise, did you have the apprehensions of either the Titanic or, the one that my mother and father put me through at 7 years old, seeing the Poseidon Adventure before the first time you go on a cruise?
Not really.
They were parents that were so good.
My grandparents were so cool.
You've talked about them. I can tell. No, I didn't really have too much trepidation. There was one night where, because I had an experience on a small, but like a whale watching boat in the early 2000s. I hadn't spent a lot of time on boats, but I went on this thing, and it was like Northern California. I was out vacationing that area, and it was one of these deals where they say, okay, we're going to take you out on the boat. Here's the animal life you're almost certainly going to see. Here's the animal life you're less likely to see. Here's the ones that's out there, but the chances of seeing them are next to nothing. Everything they said we might see, we saw. Really? Unfortunately, the water was so choppy, I spent more than half of the boat ride hunched over the back railing. So I saw some stuff, but I was thinking about other things at the time.
Oh, no.
So not wanting to relive that was a big part of my hesitation about going on a boat. And even though it is big and it doesn't move quite as much, you can still tell it's moving. It didn't bother me. Even one night when it was a little bit choppy to the point where they had to close the pool because the water was splashing too much, but that was the worst. I think I'd seen one or two like disaster movies. I'd seen Titanic. I really wasn't fearful of anything like that. We were pretty close to land, kind of going along the shore because the scenery from of Alaska along that inlet up there is just incredible. You're really gonna have a good time.
Right. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Look who showed up
with the heart of the ocean.
Yes, she has it on. Look at that.
Yes, I do. I have it on, and it's an authentic replica from Fox Pictures.
Oh.
I don't know how many they made of these when the movie first came out, but all I know is that when the I believe the 20th anniversary of the movie happened, people were selling these, and people were selling them for thousands of dollars.
Yeah. You don't often
And
hear the
I-
words "facts" and "authentic" in the same sentence.
I managed to get this one from some lady off of eBay, and she was selling it for like way cheaper, and it was like authentic. She showed me, and she was very sweet about it, and I had to get one because I'm a big mega Titanic fan.
There must be like a Titanic con somewhere that Bill and people were
Yeah.
fans
Oh,
could
there,
go to.
there is. I've just never been. There absolutely is.
Tell me
I
it's
love
not
this.
on a boat.
We need to look it up. We need to find out. By the way, we have one of those replicas, probably not like the authentic one, but for Corey's bar mitzvah, he had a movie theme. And each table had a different movie theme. And one of the tables was a Titanic, for all the people I didn't like and wanted to sink. Sat at the Titanic table now. But yes, Lisa, she had to be very authentic about everything. So she went online and bought one of those
Heart of
probably
the
not
Ocean.
Heart of the Ocean, but probably not the same replica that you have. It was like sterling silver with the big blue stone. I should probably ask Lisa to go get it while we're on if she's actually watching. But so anyway, but yes, he did that. So Steff, in the reasoning of it, have you been on a cruise?
I have never been on a cruise.
And I know you've never been on a plane too.
I have never been on a plane.
This is a person who needs to go on a trip soon, quickly.
This is a person who just needs to go on a trip, period.
and not on a Dilemma Band road trip. It's not quite.
Although those are fun. The Dilemma Band road trips are fun.
They're usually pretty funny.
They are.
Usually being the key word.
Well, it's always funny. It might not necessarily be good, but it's funny.
Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? So Bill, going back to your stuff, obviously Steff has the blue diamond, the heart.
Yes, I do not own one of those.
You do not. Okay.
I do not. I do not.
That's a check. But what pieces of Titanic anything do you have? I see the picture in the back.
Yeah, so I've got this is everything's mirrored. This is an advertisement for the Majestic, which was part of White Star's 3-ship weekly service. It was originally supposed to be the Olympic class, which was Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic, but Titanic hit an iceberg and sank. And Britannic was converted into a hospital ship in World War I and hit a mine and sunk. So you got one of the Olympic class that lived a long, successful career. But after the war was over, the White Star Line received a German liner as a reparation.
Reparations.
So they renamed it. The U.S. did too. The U.S. received a sister ship and renamed it the Leviathan, and that has.
I've heard of the Leviathan.
Yeah, that ship was one of the reasons the flu spread to the trenches in the First World War. A bunch of the soldiers had it, and a bunch of them died on the way over.
Wow.
Yeah. This is the SS United States. Still exists, will not be existing for too much longer. It still holds the record for fastest crossing of the Atlantic. It's like 3 days and change, I think. After World War II, they commissioned it. The U.S. subsidized it. The government did, just in case a World War III broke out, and they needed a ship to carry troops, and they needed it to be fast. So that ship could reverse faster than most ships could go forward. The power plant and the engines and all of that were top secret for the longest time, but it was It was
So it
basically
probably wouldn't have had the iceberg situation. They could have turned.
yeah, depending on how fast they saw it, but yeah, they could have gotten out of the way. So the ship still
Let me ask you another question on that.
Yeah.
So back to the Titanic. We'll stay
Sure,
on
sure.
course. So
All pun intended.
absolutely, that's my job.
Our starboard, yeah. got it.
For once, it wasn't me telling the terrible joke.
So as far as I'm trying to think, when did the movie come out? The Leonardo DiCaprio movie.
97.
Yeah, it was like
97.
December of 97.
So how old were you at that point, Bill?
I was 10.
Okay, so this is a pretty big thing then.
Yeah, it was a big thing for me. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that movie. I don't love, sorry, Steff. I don't love the story. It kind of makes me nuts. I think the dialogue is like, what? Nobody talks like that. But I think what I appreciate about it is the full color tour you get of the ship. They did get some things wrong, but they were going with the information they had at the time. The full color tour, and also it kind of kept the memory alive for a lot of people in my generation. This was the thing that got people interested in it. And there's a whole community of Titanic and ocean liner enthusiasts. I'm not just a Titanic enthusiast. I'm ocean liners. That's my whole thing. But it started with Titanic.
But wait, so Steff, you were like a year old then when that movie came out.
I did not watch it, obviously, when it came out.
Right. No, as I'm thinking that, because Corey's like 2, you were probably 1.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming you didn't take me to the theater for that.
You would have remembered.
Do you think I would have gone?
You would have gone to kindergarten and done a show and tell presentation about it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Please. Yes, he would have. But no question. So, do you remember when you first saw it, though?
Me?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I was like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old, and I remember watching it on the double box set, like the VHS.
Oh yeah.
Double
okay.
VHS. Yeah.
Same.
My thing when we got the VHS was I would skip the first videotape and just watch the sinking.
Tragedy.
I was gonna say that's a little depraved, but I love this.
Screw the love story.
just
Just
wanted
go
to
right
see
to
it
the
happen.
tragedy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to watch
Just a
everyone die.
romantic. Bill is not a romantic. We've
Is
established that at that point.
With that in mind, is the car scene, I'm trying to remember, is the car scene on the second tape or the first?
I want to say it's the first.
It was that early in the movie?
I want to say it's the first.
Right, we're all talking the same car scene, right?
Right, so the movie is 4 hours long almost.
Which is why I would never go see that in a movie theater. Not happening.
Especially with a 2-year-old.
Oh.
Fun fact, had Jack and Rose actually existed, that car scene wouldn't have happened because the car was most likely in pieces and in boxes. So,
True.
So
that would have been a lot more interesting.
Cameron.
They could have built it like an erector set.
Yeah. Right.
Oh!
There we go.
So, Corey, do you remember the first time you saw it?
I believe I was in like 1st or 2nd grade, if I recall correctly, because I was a very precocious kid.
No,
I was always into like history. I was always into pretty wild things, and that one to me, again, I guess this is why Bill and I get along. We have the same stream of apparently like nerd interests, and that was one of them. And I was like, wait, there's a whole movie about the Titanic? So maybe I was in like 3rd or 4th grade. Excuse me. No, I was probably closer to 3rd or 4th grade. Because I know you never cared what movies I was watching. That was you were not that parent. Like,
No.
I always got annoyed with my friends' parents who were like, oh my god, it's rated PG-13. I remember watching The Sopranos with you as a kid.
You got to know what the family does, you know.
By the way, tomorrow's my first bocce game at the Italian club.
Ooh.
Which, by the way, I think you can play bocce on the cruise ships now. So how's that?
Probably.
There's
Love that.
If you
but
go
yeah.
go-kart on a cruise ship.
How
you can
old
play
were you the
bocce.
first cruise?
The
I took you
go-kart.
on?
Probably 4.
What was
I
the
must-
first cruise? I don't remember that.
I want to say it was a carnival.
No.
It wasn't?
No.
Again,
I went on a few carnival. I don't like carnival. Ugh. Sorry.
too many people.
Yeah, I think I took you on a Royal Caribbean, maybe, or
It might have been. It was one of the 2 major brands. I know it was not like a.
Yeah, no. I mean, I know I've taken you on a Carnival cruise.
I think you've taken me on.
like
I think
2, I think.
yeah, either 2 or 3 of the 9 I've been on.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've been on 23 or 22. So
Wow.
You guys have stamp cards? Why do you know that?
I
Because
just
the 24th you get a free cruise.
yeah.
Hey.
You would hope.
I he wasn't the only spoiled kid as a kid. I wasn't very deprived either. You got to understand, my parents were married 14 years before they had a kid. So, and they had 2 miscarriages before me. So I was like basically
The golden baby.
Messiah. Yeah. When I showed up, I wasn't supposed to come. And then my sister ruined it all and showed up 3 years later in between another miscarriage. So my mother wasn't good at holding babies, but, in any case,
Well, that got fucking dark.
Usually
Jesus
Craig is not the one
Christ.
who makes this show dark.
yeah, but we went on
Casually at that too. Content warning, by the way.
You've rubbed off a little
sorry.
bit, I guess.
I mean, we
We went on a lot of trips.
People dying, so
Yeah,
I mean-
because when your mother's a teacher, she's off all summer, and when your
Mhm.
father's like a chief financial officer or controller or whatever, he usually has the ability to take some time off. So we used to go on like 2 or 3 really good trips every year. So a lot of times, get that off of there, you dummy. It's true, but yeah, no, we used to travel a lot. So I went on many trips.
We have fun here.
I went to Europe, I went to Africa, I went to the Middle East. I've traveled a lot and been in a lot of hotel rooms. And now I get to go with Corey every weekend to different
Joy.
hotel rooms. But yeah, so my first cruise was on the Canberra. And as I've told the story a number of times, yes, my parents took me to the drive-in movie theater in Westbury to go see the Poseidon Adventure as a 7-year-old before your first cruise. And it was a double feature with the Planet of the Apes. So not only did I get the horror of knowing I'm going on a cruise and it's probably going to flip over, but I also,
if you make it, you're going to end up with the Planet of the Apes.
right, the apes were going to take over the world. This is what my
Right.
parents put
And
me
did the
through.
Poseidon Adventure send you head over heels in excitement?
Yes, absolutely. I knew to go backwards, and if we hit that thing and it flipped over, but yeah, the Canberra, and here's a cool fact. This is a real fact. We were at a party the other day, a Christmas party the other day, a few months ago, and Bill Green, Ricky Green's dad,
Let's go
was talking about being on a trip and going on the Canberra and getting stuck for a few extra days in Martinique.
Whoa.
And I was on the same exact ship. I was there.
Huh.
This is like 1972, 73, something like that. And we were both on that ship. We both remembered it like it, and his parents were still alive. So I got to talk to his parents about it as well. So not only did I see the Poseidon Adventure, I did get stuck in a port. And, so you would, can you believe I'd go on more cruises after all this?
No.
If Poseidon Adventure didn't phase you as a kid, why would you be phased by anything
Exactly.
in that vein?
Oh, nice. And Bill's been watching. Very cool.
Yes.
I have been.
One more
Me?
time. Oh,
For
not
Green.
you.
I mean,
Well,
here.
not you, but Bill Green. Excuse me.
You've been participating.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
I mean,
okay.
I think you've by technicality been watching.
Yeah, I was like, I'm living this. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So,
Um,
Bill, how many cruises have you been on?
I've only been on 2.
Oh, okay.
If you don't count the ferry to Nova, if you count the ferry to Nova Scotia, then 3. But I don't.
Did you enjoy Nova Scotia?
What's that?
Did you enjoy Nova Scotia?
Yeah. I was young.
Now, did you go to Halifax to go
Yep.
see the Titanic Museum?
I remember. So there was a maritime museum there that I went to see.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did go to see that.
Yeah.
There was a little Canadian what do they call it? A Corvette up there that was like a smaller than a destroyer that had World War II service in the Atlantic, escorting the convoys that you could walk around into, and I did that. But it was we went up with my grandparents, so we kind of, because my grandmother she vacationed there as a kid. She had family up there, so
I just figured, because when we went to the Maritime Museum, they had a whole Titanic exhibit, because most of the people that's where they took them to was Halifax.
Right.
So no one's saying the morning after on the camper that I know. But no, listen, Bill, you and I will have that forever, that we were on the Canberra that trip. That is so amazing. Yeah, no, we went on that. We went on a cruise, a Carnival cruise. And you could tell that my parents paid for it, not I, because I would not go on the Carnival cruise if I didn't have to. But they took my son, well, my kids and my family, my sister's family, and my cousins. They were celebrating their 25th wedding anniversary. My parents were celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, and then my sister's friends were also celebrating their 50th anniversary, and they were on the ship. So we actually had a blast in Halifax. It was a good time.
Oh yeah. No, sorry. The wonders of having
Technology and delay, right?
Yeah. No.
I was gonna say it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool. For the first time in my life, having people besides just my direct family that I actually knew on a vacation in general.
Yeah.
I think it was one of the first real not just us family vacations we did. So that was cool being in another country, but there's people that I only saw in New York there. So
Yeah.
Actually, a ditzy story about my parents were on another planet. They were very ditzy. Okay, both of them, him and her. She was
here we are.
Yeah, but my dad. So
genetics.
My sister's friends' parents were on the ship, as I said, celebrating their 50th anniversary. My dad doesn't realize, and the other father doesn't realize, that they worked with each other for 3 years and used to ride the train together to New York. They don't figure that out until years later at my sister's house at a party. They're like, "Oh my God, that's who you are. You look familiar." So either senility had both kicked in at the 50th anniversary, or on another planet. One was an engineer and wasn't an accountant. So, they look a lot at the paper and not, at real stuff. So,
Yeah.
But that was just one of those weird stories that happened from that. So I want to go back to Steff. So, all right, tell us your love for this story. Besides that, you want the big blue diamond.
Oh yeah, I could just talk.
You
about
have
this.
the big blue diamonds.
Well, it's not spoiler. It's not a diamond, but not.
You're actually in Leo's prime age range.
Oh no! Once you hit over 25, you're done.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Over 25, it's not allowed anymore. Sorry.
My
He's gonna have to hit
long
on mid-shift.
sigh. My long sigh was my reaction to that being true.
so go ahead, Steff. When did you fall in love with this movie? What obviously it was the love story.
You know what?
Or was it Celine Dion that got you to love it?
I mean, well, yeah, I love Celine Dion. You know, I've been listening to Celine Dion since I was a little girl. You know, thanks, Mom. She's in the other room right now. But yeah, I listened to a number of her CDs. But that song was on the Let's Talk About Love album, and then that song became the theme for the Titanic. And then I was like, I have to watch this movie. So then I watched this movie, and then I really liked. Sorry, Bill. I really liked the love story. I really did. I thought it was.
She's a hopeless romantic young girl. Yeah. I mean, you know, it kind of fits.
Though, okay. If we're talking, so first of all, let it be known, how many films has Leonardo DiCaprio been where he's in a relationship that only lasts 3 days?
Probably most of them.
Probably
because let's get real, Romeo and Juliet, Titanic. This guy doesn't seem to get more than a few days before he ends up dead in love.
True.
Is that why he always has to date younger?
Because he kills them accidentally?
Yeah.
Or maybe to keep himself young so he doesn't end up dead in love. But I think one of the great questions of romance romance, it doesn't actually have to do with him, it has to do with her, and it has to do with the comment I made in my description box. They both could have fit on the door.
Oh, here we go. The debate.
It's gonna fit on the door.
Why could fit on the door?
They could have both made it. Like, are you kidding me? Like, or take fifths? Like, come on.
It wasn't a door.
It wasn't a door?
No.
What was it?
What?
It was a part of the paneling over a door in I believe the first class lounge. There's a piece that it was modeled after that exists in a museum. Yeah.
I love, first of all, I love that you know this. That's why we had you on.
So I mean, I kind of agree he probably could have fit, but perhaps if he did, they both wouldn't make it, and he was a hero, and he was in love.
And then wait, the insult to injury. The insult to injury. I won't let go, Jack. And she literally lets go. I won't let go, Jack. And she lets go.
Maybe she just didn't mean that in the literal sense.
She meant in her heart. It was her heart that she would never let go.
Yeah, of course her heart was going to go on. Hopefully with some guilt. Like,
this is why you don't do well in relationships, Corey. You look too far into this thing.
And again, maybe this was where James Cameron needed to do a little, like, think of a better line. You'll always be with me, Jack.
Okay.
You'll go on in my heart, Jack.
Perhaps you and Bill can redo the remake. It'll have a little less of a love affair, be a little bit more accurate.
Corey, I'll have my people call your people.
You guys can make this all work out.
Is it going to be both of us on the panel?
Yeah, it's like we're just exactly. We'll write it.
One of these episodes, we should just hook up a blood pressure monitor to Corey and just have a live feed throughout it, watching what happens when he gets fired up about something the way he is right now.
That's perfect.
It's so ridiculous.
I saw a funny. There was like a YouTube piece on the movie that I saw. I have tried to find it a number of times and I can't do it. I've looked very long for this and I just can't find it. And it was all about how Rose was just a liability the whole time.
Yeah.
Like just stay in the boat. Just stay in the boat.
Stay in the boat.
Like Jack would have had such an easier time if he had just been on himself and hadn't had to like hold somebody's hand who like didn't know how to live.
You stupid quote, you stupid girl, you stupid girl.
And he was not saying that because he was like, you made a bad decision. He was like, great, now I gotta babysit.
Yeah, like I didn't almost just get drowned to death with some handcuffs on, and the fact he come on, the fact he trusted her with that. With the axe.
You're ruining the romance for Steff. Now, I understand Leo's thing. When you're deeply in love with a female and you would do anything. There's nothing I wouldn't do for your mother especially when she was 21 or 22. I would do anything she asked. And I would have jumped off the damn ship to save her. So you just have no love in you. You're not understanding this. You don't get it.
She was gonna get saved. This woman that was now after 3 days the love of his life was gonna get saved. Was gonna be fine and live her best life.
Plus, guys like to show off. He wanted to show off that he would, fight for her. He would do what he needed to do. You're not getting the romance, Core. You're just not getting it. But I want to go back.
Why must we as men be the only ones who have to deal with the romance? Shouldn't she have been a little romantic too?
I mean, true. I mean, he did like.
She got naked for him and let him paint her.
Great. He died.
At least he got to see her naked.
Died.
Okay. I want to go back to Steff and let's.
The only one who ended up was him.
All right, shush. I'm trying to get Steff her version of this movie, her love for this movie, and you stop ruining it. So, you did love the love story.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you were in Rose's position, would you have looked at Leo or would you have stayed with the rich guy?
Cal.
This is deep thought here. She's thinking rich guy in third class. Where am I going on this? You're not going to make a comment. You don't want to hit on.
Or no, I think she might be. No, she's there. She's there. I was
okay.
Like, is she just is she frozen like Jack Dawson?
Wait.
You're asking her?
Were you asking me a question because like it froze up a little bit?
Oh,
like Jack Dawson.
So the question
Corey
was,
will never let go, Steff.
If you were Rose,
when he does.
If you were Rose, would you have allowed yourself to fall in love with the third class passenger, or would you have stayed with the first class jackass who had lots of money?
Well, throughout the movie, he shows himself as a true jackass, and he doesn't he like hit her or something?
He does hit her.
Oh, then
I wanted to jump through the freaking TV when he did that.
I know he hit her. So then she goes and spits in his face, right? Was it his face she spit in?
I believe so. Yes.
Right. It wasn't the crony.
Oh my god. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But like, you go and hit her, it's like that's it, man. You're gonna, because that's kind of mentally like indicative of like you're probably gonna do it again in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like a freaking psychopath.
He was a little upset at that point.
He blew his brains out though in the end, right?
Yes. Right?
When the right yeah, at the end the market she says the market crashed and Cal swallowed a bullet or something.
Oh yeah, he put a pistol in his mouth.
Put a pistol in his mouth. I remember it was a very graphic way to describe how he killed himself.
The imagery.
Beautiful. You want to know one detail I love that I found out about in Titanic?
What?
Yeah.
The fact that the stars were so off kilter in the sky that Neil deGrasse Tyson had to make commentary about it.
I didn't know that.
And And what's the kids movie that now ultimately has? What movie was it that he ended up getting asked to do to make sure that the stars were right? It was like some comedy that the stars are more accurate in this like comedy movie than they were in the most expensive film at the time to have ever been made.
I have
don't
no
know.
clue.
But he said that the stars were a mirror image of each other. So it was like
It was just one backside, and
yeah.
It was like the old McDonald's menu, same on the left, same on the right.
I was going to say the one thing that cruise ships no longer have that the Titanic and then for many, many years did. There was something with the elegance of dressing up, wearing a tuxedo, every night preparing, and some of that stuff really has changed. And it's funny because Lisa and I used to go on cruises all the time. And we went 17 years without going on one. The first time we went was last year in May for our 35th wedding anniversary. And I didn't wear a suit the entire time. I think I put a sports jacket on once. And so that's changed. And there's no more midnight buffet because there's a buffet 24 hours.
Right. Well, it's all about the clientele, right? Like you got a lot of people who are just going. It's a destination vacation in itself. I think that Cunard has 3 or 4 ships. One purpose-built ocean liner, but they all have formal nights, especially when on the Queen Mary 2. Which is the ocean liner. It's a little bit. You're going to be business casual on the most casual night, and then they have like you should rent a tuxedo for that one because they're going to have like a black tie night as well.
Yeah, and that's I think the other lines and just so you know, like I went on Celebrity. In fact, I had such a good time. We're going on Celebrity again this time. Which is really for older people. That's not where if you're like Steff and Corey, that's not where you guys should go. You know what I mean? If you're going on a cruise, that's not the ship for you. But in fact, I think Lisa and I were 2 of the younger people on the ship. That's how old most of the people were on Celebrity. Wow. But I liked it. I liked it because I didn't have to deal with stupidity. Everything was good, but it was definitely a lot more relaxed than the days when, especially when I went with my parents, and I'd been on the Cunard line that Bill's talking about on Cunard.
Yeah.
Every night you dressed up and it was, a white glove, black tie. It was very elegant. Of course it was an English ship, so it didn't have very good the food was dull. It was okay. It was good. And you get your lobster 1 or 2 nights of the week. And you can order 7 meals if you want to every single day.
You're leading me to one of the points I've had in the back of my head, by the way.
You have a point in the back of your head? You should see a doctor. Okay, go ahead.
So one of the things with what James Cameron has done to the story of the Titanic, how Americanized he's turned it. Because we're talking about everything about the Titanic, from the ship itself and down to how the disaster played out. I feel like is so quintessentially English.
Yeah.
I can't imagine these American passengers going on. Here again, we've had other issues, but we don't have the class thing, the way it's broken down back then, not totally different. I can only imagine being, Molly Brown, for example, going on this ship and being like, really? You're like with some of the
look at that.
Bad bitch Molly Brown. There she is.
Fun fact: she hated being called Molly.
Are you impressed with me, Corey? Did I have the picture
ready to go? I absolutely am. So
she went by Margaret or Maggie.
Which is,
do you want to tell people who Molly Brown is? Because you can't just throw that name out there. Like,
besides
let that go. Let's move on.
but yeah, but no, she was a wife of a magnate. It was great. And she, but like, you know,
That's it. That's all you're gonna say. Wife of a magnate. You're not gonna. You brought her up.
Because I was making a point, you son of a bitch. I was making a point.
You brought her up. That's like a.
No,
Okay.
let me finish the point.
Anybody got that blood pressure cuff?
I think it might explode any minute at that point.
Point being, even down to the waiting for the third, you know, first class to get up, second class, third class, instead of just getting everyone. This is so quintessentially, you know, egalitarian, like so English. Everything about this, the band down to the band playing as the thing's going down. Well, the ship's going down, lads. Let's play it out. Like, this seems so English, but because of the movie being made by an American, I feel like it's so we've forgotten about all of these very, very Anglo everything about it.
Can I tell everybody who Molly Brown is now?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Yes. She was the wife of a mining millionaire, but her most important things that she did after getting off the ship, she was a leading women's lib person. She wanted women's rights, and
Suffragette.
she also was very involved in education and making sure children got educated. She's a very important person in the American history, and it is a very good thing that she survived the Titanic.
Absolutely, and that was a great point, and I was hoping someone was going to mention them, but you know, it would have been nice after I was done making my point.
Somebody said she didn't like being called Molly. How did she come to be known by that if that was not what she was?
I think it was from the musical.
Really?
I think.
So it's only recently she's been known that way?
Since what, the 50s?
Okay.
Maybe. That's how she's become known. I don't remember exactly how. I know that the musical made the nickname popular. But she was Maggie or Margaret at the time when she was alive. So whenever I talk about her, I don't ever call her Molly. I call her Maggie.
So Bill, with that in mind,
yeah, what's up?
And having a Titanic expert, I scoured the internet today for a few trivia questions. I want to see if we could stump this man. Okay.
Watch, I'm going to be out on the first question.
Question number 1. How many iceberg warnings did the Titanic receive before the collision?
Ooh. I know that there were, I want to say, was it 12?
Divided by 4. There were
3?
apparently, and again, I didn't do a great job on, totally going through.
There were more than 3.
There were more than okay.
Yeah. And we can get into that later.
Number 2.
Yes.
What did the Titanic's distress signal CQD stand for?
So
I know that
the common thing that people say is that it stands for come quick distress, but that's not true. CQ was Morse code for basically all stations. So anybody who's listening, tune in because we got something to say. And then D stood for some sort of distress or some sort of emergency. But that was like, if you heard CQ, you were going to drop everything and listen. And then D stood for we need help.
And that was like a prequel to SOS, wasn't it?
Yeah, SOS does not mean save our ship. It's just that it's very easily recognizable as 3 dots, 3 dashes, and 3 dots. And you hear that, and you can pick that out of anything. Didn't hear it.
It sounds like you just cursed a lot.
Oh. Okay.
All right, go through your questions, and I want to ask fun questions.
What was the Titanic's call sign?
MGY.
Very good. How many musicians were in the Titanic? How many musicians were in the Titanic's band?
Was it 9?
8.
8.
Close enough.
Okay. I know they would all split up and do different shows.
And they still do.
Yeah.
On their ships.
Okay. Who was the first passenger rescued by the Carpathia?
By the way, here are
Oh,
the
there
8.
they are.
I have all 8 of them.
Look
I
at
don't-
you
I don't
go.
I don't remember that. I'm really proving myself to be the expert here. I don't remember their name.
The woman's name was Miss Elizabeth Allen.
Oh, okay. Yep. I know who she is.
All right, I've got two more here.
Yeah.
How many Academy Awards did the film win?
That one I know.
11?
Yes, 11. And then finally, what's the name of the cemetery where the majority of the victims are buried? And do you know where it is?
It is in Halifax.
It is in Halifax.
It's not. Oh, that's not ship trivia. I don't know. I don't know.
Corey.
I don't know what the name of the cemetery is.
So this one I did know because I've been there. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. It's the Fairview Lawn
Oh,
Cemetery
okay.
in
Don't they have
Halifax.
one of those at least in every single town in America?
Fairview
Or at
Fairview
least
is a very, very popular cemetery name.
Yeah, I think everybody's buried there. It's just different places. But yeah.
All right, what was that sheet you held up? It looked like a really stylish diner placemat.
Yeah, it does. But so actually, it's a picture of the 8 musicians who passed away on the Titanic, fiddling down when the ship sank.
But know who did survive? Know who did survive?
Margaret.
The wireless operator.
One of them.
And which one was it?
Harold Bride. He survived on an upside down lifeboat.
Wow.
Wild.
Yeah. You'll see when we play the video. You won't see him, but you'll see what happened. He got pinned underneath a collapsible lifeboat, which is basically not really a spare, but it was a smaller lifeboat with canvas sides for easy storage, so you could prop up the canvas sides, and then it had a wooden bottom, and it was stored on top of the officers' quarters. You can see it. This happened in the movie. Stored on top of the officers' quarters, one of the last 2 lifeboats left as the ship is going under, and they tried to drop it. They tried to use planks and oars to try to slide it off the officers' quarters, which is a deck on the deck house, basically, just below the first funnel. And there were winches that could do it, that could pick them up, but there wasn't enough time. And they probably weren't completely familiar with how to do it. So they decided that it was going to be quicker and easier to slide it off on these propped oars and pieces of wood, but they underestimated the weight of the lifeboat and overestimated the strength of the wood, and it broke. And one on the starboard side landed upright, and on the port side landed upside down, and Harold Bride was trapped underneath it, and he passed out, and he woke up and it was dark and he thought he was dead, and he was able to swim underneath it and cling to it and climb up on top of it.
Jesus
Wow.
Christ.
Yeah.
That's
All right.
that's
So I want to play a game now. You ready?
We just did.
I want to play a better game than his. All right. Does anybody know who this gentleman was?
I sure do.
Anybody else want to guess first? Because I know Bill knows the answer.
Is that John Jacob Astor?
That is correct. One of the wealthiest men in the world at the time.
He was the richest man on the ship,
I knew that one.
and was
The richest man on the ship. Died as a gentleman.
he was married to a 19-year-old, and he was pushing 50.
I didn't see.
She was
Leonardo
pregnant.
Leftovers.
Yeah, Leonardo's real father.
Yeah, right. She was
That's how he got casted.
right.
Yeah.
She was pregnant, so they had been away in Europe Europe and I think Africa, waiting for the dust to settle because everybody was I mean, rightfully so, criticizing him for being with somebody who was 30 years younger than he was. And
I thought that was normal back then.
yeah, right.
You're right. Yeah.
I kind of was in the same thought.
But it was a big scandal, and they were on their way back.
And right, wasn't he kind of just like, well, fuck it, let's get a drink, or I mean, let's get a drink, and just deal with it.
He
gave his pregnant wife alcohol.
Yeah, right. He I didn't know back then.
Anyway,
he asked if he could get into a lifeboat with his wife because she was in quote unquote a delicate condition, and he was refused a seat, and he told her he was going to find another one somewhere else, and clearly didn't.
and then she scored, baby. She got all the Astor money. She got to be the socialite of New York. She was like it after that.
Yeah, for a little while, but then she got remarried, and I think that there was a stipulation in his will that if she got remarried, she lost the money.
Well, I hope she married well. She probably married like a Belmont or something after that, or a Vanderbilt.
Madeline.
But
As they all
I have another picture. Now the last one I expected you both to get. This one. Who is this gentleman?
Isn't that the guy from the Micro Machines commercials who could talk really fast?
Yes.
Modeled after this gentleman, certainly. Do you want some clues?
I'm going to give.
Sure.
All right, I will give you the clue that this gentleman has a museum in New York City.
Oh, is that Guggenheim?
That is correct. That was too damn good of a clue.
Yeah, we have dressed in our best and are going to go down like gentlemen.
He's the one I was thinking. It's Guggenheim who, we're dressed. We're already dressed. He was the one who was drinking at the thing.
Like chill.
Although that quote is debated, but he did pass a message along to his wife, saying that he was well behaved and acted like a gentleman and didn't try to save himself before any of the other men.
Now, how many of you have gone to the Guggenheim Museum and then said, I really need a skateboard? If you're looking at me, Dave, you've never been to the Guggenheim Museum.
One moment,
I have not.
I have never been.
Me neither.
It's like this big circular thing that goes down like this. It swerves all the way down. And when you're on the top, you're like, I need to have like a skateboard right now. So I just go down.
I just want to roll down this thing.
Roll it all the way down. It's a really cool museum. Whether the artwork's any good or not, I don't really know. I was just thinking about this would be so cool to be on a skateboard and go down this.
I just want to get a skateboard and sit on it like I'm not supposed
There you go.
to.
Yeah,
cool.
you see the...
Reminds me of one of those things you put the penny on and it just rolls.
Yes,
around.
exactly. Exactly. Precisely. So yes.
wild.
No, that as a kid I thought that was great.
Yeah, that is really cool.
That's. I love that you had this all prepared and ready to go. Look at you.
Yeah, this is good.
Look at this guy over here.
Yeah, really.
All right, I'll give you the next guy here that I have for you. All right. And I will give you a clue on this man. He's a survivor.
Oh, yes. I know exactly who that is.
I don't, so go for it.
That, you want me to say it?
Yeah. Well, you kind of have it on your...
Yeah. That is the managing director of the White Star Line and the president of the International Mercantile Marine. That is J. Bruce Ismay.
That is correct. I knew that you were going to get that right because it says Free Esme right underneath you.
Yeah.
That
and
is
there's
very
a
impressive. I got to say, Bill, that one, that you get props on that one. Huge.
So I can go into it more, but he has his reputation, or he was not as bad in my opinion, as his reputation says that he was. He did not sneak into a lifeboat. He did not take a seat. Every movie that has been made about Titanic has made him the villain. There's no evidence that he pushed them to break any records. The ship was not physically capable of beating any records, and he certainly would have known that. There's no evidence that he tried to push Captain Smith or anything like that, which would be illegal. He was technically Smith's boss, but when Smith is on the ship, it's his ship, and Ismay was a passenger, and so as a passenger, he had every right. Smith and the purser, I think, right?
You are correct.
McElroy was the purser's name.
See this, Corey? This is what preparation is.
But yeah, he spent the whole night in his pajamas and slippers helping people into lifeboats. And he did not get off the ship until the second to last lifeboat that was properly launched was launched. And when he did so, he looked around and he saw no women and children around, presumably because the ones that were around had run aft. And lighting was not as good as it is now. And at that point, the power was waning, so the lights were dimming. And he looked around, he saw no women and children, and he got in. Some people say he was offered a spot or told to get in. And I also believe that he knew that he had to answer for the company because he knew that Smith and Thomas Andrews had already made up their mind that they were going to go down with the ship. So he got off knowing that in any inquiry, he was going to be the only one to be able to give answers as somebody in a position of authority. And when he was on Carpathia and he found out that, and he saw that a lot of women and children passed away, he actually had a nervous breakdown in his cabin. Wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink, wouldn't talk to anybody. They sent people in to try to get him to talk, and all he would say was, it should have been me, I should have been on the ship. And one of the reasons that he has such a bad reputation is because previously he had been critical of William Randolph Hearst and Hearst's questionable.
Well, it's probably not a good idea to go after the guy who writes all the newspapers, especially back then. You know, right. So you're not going to get good press if you go
Rosebud.
Right.
Every single newspaper, just say.
So he was publicly critical of Hearst because Hearst's journalistic practices were questionable at best. Nice. And Hearst was just waiting for him to slip up, and
he got him.
He got him. He
got him.
He ruined.
By the way,
his reputation.
have you guys ever seen San Simeon, the William Hearst Castle?
Oh, absolutely. I've seen the pictures. I've seen the book. I've seen
I've been.
Oh, that's the second building tonight. Designed by Frank Lloyd Wright.
Well, it never got finished. San Simeon. He ran out of money.
He did, and then also the Guggenheim was one of the other buildings designed by
Frank Lloyd Wright.
Absolutely.
But San Simeon, the pool is layered with gold.
Mm-hmm.
Gold.
Wow.
The man also had a zoo on the grounds. Like, dude.
By the way, I don't want to run out of time for it. This is, I think, the thing that Bill has been waiting for the entirety of the show. I want to pull this up. What we have. Yeah, because it's 9:12. So I want. Okay. So a presentation for everybody. This film is from the Video Museum, Titanic: Honor and Glory. We have the most dark thing we are ever going to probably air on DIlem-Monday. This is what we have is a depiction of the last 15 minutes of the Titanic.
Okay, so can you pause quickly while I set the stage?
Yes.
Okay.
People
So
on the ship were saying that too. Can we pause?
yeah, please. What has been happening here is so little background. Titanic was designed with 16 watertight compartments. The watertight compartments went up to, at the highest, went up to E deck, which was, if you go down from the top, you have the boat deck, then A deck, B deck, C deck. So this part, I'm pointing at the screen. You can't see what I'm doing. The part that is flooding down underneath the bridge is A deck, and then B deck, C deck, so on. Really what happened was they just didn't envision a scenario where the number of compartments that were opened up to the ocean would be opened up to the ocean. It was designed to float with the first 4 compartments flooded, and then any combination of 2 compartments flooded would not bring down the ship. Now, they just didn't envision 6 compartments being breached. And so the compartments went up to E deck at the highest, which means they weren't sealed at the top. So basically, when they say it's a mathematical certainty in all the movies, it's the water weighs down the bow, pulls it down, and water always tries to reach equilibrium. So it rises up to the top of the watertight compartment and then flows through hallways and down the back of the other one. There's actually a story of a steward. His name was, I think, Joseph. I know his last name was Wheat. I think it was Joseph Wheat, who during the sinking, he went down to his compartment on F deck to collect some things and some personal items and make sure that there were no other stewards hanging around in there. And it was right next to a watertight door that had been closed. And he walked through onto E deck and walked down the staircase to F deck. And he grabbed his stuff, made sure there was nobody there. And when he walked back, there was water coming down the stairs. So the water had made its way to the top of the previous, or the forward, one compartment forward of that, and was spilling over the top and down the staircases into the other one. Yeah, that is the most accurate model I have ever seen. But
you have no idea how hard that was to get.
Dead ass.
My wife had to have the best of the best, and that was the bar mitzvah Titanic table thing.
Very nice. Very nice.
Along with the diamond.
Right. So the ship actually, like, throughout the voyage, it was exceeding expectations. With the machinery was working better than it could. And I always say that in death, the ship was exceeding expectations too. Because those watertight compartments, even though 6 were breached and it was going to sink, did exactly what it was supposed to do. It delayed the sinking. And instead of going down in 20 minutes, it took 2 hours and 40 minutes for the ship to sink. It did exactly what it's supposed to do and better.
As a musician, you understand on a much lower level, when we put up a tent or a covering when we're playing a show, it's not so we can continue playing in the rain. It's so we can get our shit
Right.
I might kill you.
How the hell did that happen?
That was a lot of SOS.
Yeah. That was we don't put a tent up because we want to keep playing in the rain. It's so we can get our shit off the stage, and then
Right.
move.
Right, exactly. So it reaches the ship reached this equilibrium. Now you can see that there's a port list which is not depicted in any of the films, but that was something that very much happened because on E deck there was a long hallway on the port side of the ship that allowed uneven flooding of the ship. So it was listed to port.
Do you mind if I started the video?
Yeah, because we're gonna run out of time here. So
go for it. Go for it.
Go through this as quick as because we're at 9:18 and we have other things we have to go through at the end.
Yeah, go for it. So anyways, you've got A deck flooding here on the port. Collapsible D had just been lowered. The water is over the well deck. It's in B deck, and that equilibrium kind of got broken once the bow, the very like fork, the forecastle deck went under because there's all this machinery and all this space for water to flow into. So once that goes, the ship really starts to sink, and that's the boat coming down. That's collapsible A on the starboard side. That Murdoch is First Officer Murdoch is trying to load. And so you're going to see this port list. Things are going to start going really, really quickly here. It was a very slow process up until this point. And as you can see, the lights are still on, so the engineering team still had the boilers connected up to the emergency dynamos. Those engines were running. You can see the boat deck is starting to flood on the port side. And there was a story about basically the last two people who made it into a properly launched lifeboat. The part that they were standing on is underwater now, but they were kind of running up along that promenade deck. That's that A deck that you're seeing just below the boat deck. And this boat coming into view is the boat that they jumped into. They were there. They noticed that water was starting to spill over the rail, and they decided they were going to jump into this boat. And by the time they landed in the boat, water was up to the ceiling of A deck. So it was going real quick at this point. So you're going to see
what's going through the people's heads at this
I
point.
was literally about to say, just watching this is giving me anxiety.
That's what everybody says when they watch this. So here's the boat that falls.
Yep.
It didn't land upside down, but this one did land upside down, and it landed with Harold Bride underneath it.
Which could have killed him.
It could have
just falling.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, the last few minutes probably was just horrific.
Yeah, I mean,
and you didn't die slowly here. This is a long.
You're
death.
freezing to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like,
you're gonna get taken under eventually. So you just.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how fast it's going now. And it's very quickly losing stability. But even to the very end, that people were thinking that it was gonna maybe just stay like this.
Yeah. Well, I guess if I'm on the ship on the top at this point, I'm hoping that happens because there's no more lifeboats. So let's hope that it just stays afloat or someone comes really quickly.
And as crowded as it looked, as horrible of an image in the thing I'm about to say, as crowded as the deck looked on what's still not fully submerged, think about the fact that there's a smoothie below deck of human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the movie depicts Captain Smith is going into the wheelhouse and dying holding onto the wheel, but there's witness testimony that said that he was standing on that port bridge wing that you just saw go under, with the little it's a Morse lamp that was on top of it. It was a little light that was kind of on that pole. They saw him with Thomas Andrews, and one of them turned to the other and said, "She's going," and they shook hands and dove into the ocean. And neither of them were ever found.
I mean, that's probably how I would have done it at that point. I wouldn't have let myself just go down. I would have started trying.
Well,
to
yeah.
swim.
How could I don't understand how someone could mentally just let themselves drown, like just be
Right.
like,
So
might as
at
well
this,
jump.
yeah. So at this point, you can see the starboard boat deck is still kind of up above the water, but then the ship starts to right itself out, and when that starboard deck
Hero.
goes under, this wave rolled back up the boat deck, and it was like one of the first class passengers said that he crouched down and kind of body surfed on it, whereas lots of other people were taken out. There goes the funnel. Now the gruesome thing here is that there's a big hole there now that goes into the boilers.
Now people get swept in and just going down into the
Going
Sinking
down
into
the ship, yeah.
Oh
Yep.
god.
And there's the crow's nest. Second Officer Lightaller was washed off. He was in charge of the port side boats, and he was washed off. And he said he saw the crow's nest, and he instinctively started. There goes the grand staircase under too. He said he instinctively started to.
We have a
swim toward-
picture of Corey and family on the the grand staircase. That every single cruise ship has that picture.
Yeah.
Why I don't know.
I know. It's like, is this something we really
Like,
want to
like, and what are you gonna request?
Did you
the
know
wa-
Murray and Ruthie Riemann?
I was
What
gonna
the
say,
hell?
like what are you gonna what? It's like asking the band on the ship, "Can you play Nearer My God to Thee?" Like what? That's like you're
Right.
asking for a literal disaster.
Right.
But
what
yeah.
do I know?
All right, it's 9:24,
Yeah,
9:25. We got to start doing some plugs here. So,
You can. Yeah. Go ahead.
Actually,
so Corey.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's plug as everyone's dying.
Yes. Well, actually, name all the people on the ship that did not go.
Oh, this is such an awesome list, and the reasons are like even wilder. Gene Wilder. No. Okay.
Was
So
one of them. Yeah.
yes, so I'm just gonna silence the death for a moment. Among the notables who were not on the ship, J.P. Morgan was supposed to go on. He got sick, and he's like, no, and it saved his life. Now, granted, as a fan of
Quickly, we don't.
As a fan of Teddy Roosevelt, I would have been a big fan of him going down the ship, but that's a whole other story. On the other hand, Milton Hershey was supposed to be on the ship, but he missed it.
Sweet.
The inventor of the radio, Marconi, he was supposed to be on, did not get on. Who else? Henry Clay Frick, his wife bruised her twisted her heel and ended up in the hospital or something in Italy, so they didn't make it. Theodore Dreiser,
Really happy with her.
yeah, honey, thank you. Two of the Vanderbilts were supposed to go on, but they did not. Theodore Dreiser was supposed to go on, and Edgar Sylwin was supposed to among the short list of people supposed to be on the Titanic who were not. And
this
for
is like-
All right,
yeah,
let's go to plugs here. I think though tonight we learned a lot about the Titanic. If you didn't know beforehand, you got some accuracies that Bill was able to throw by you. You got to see the big blue diamond that Steff had, and you got to hear some other stuff here. And in any case, Steff, you're in an exciting new band, and then you got a whole bunch of new deals going for this month on your social media. So it's your turn to talk.
Yes, the new band I am with is a new tribute act called Simply Stapleton, and we just played our first debut show at the Warehouse in Amityville, and it was a big success. So many people came out. The place was packed, and yeah, it got a really great review, and we're gonna be booking some places soon. And we're working on a new demo video, so that's going to be in the works, and look out for that soon. And my new deal I'm running for my social media business is if you need a flyer or a promo for your next show or whatever, I am offering it for a discounted rate at $20 each.
Take that. She charges me a lot more money than that every month. So you guys
That's right.
do that.
That's right. Do it. Do it.
But by the way, during the performance, Dave Black was sending me texts. Steff's great. The band's great. She sounds fantastic. So I just wanted you to know that Dave and Robin were giving me blow by blow as the performance is going down.
That's awesome. Love it.
Yes.
Love
yes. Good stuff. Dave, what do you got?
Well, no disrespect to the victims of the Titanic, but could we maybe kill this video?
Yeah, you all can finish it on your own.
My comic career is sad enough as it is. I don't need that. As
Jeez.
Calendar's a little light right now, but that happens. In Massachusetts on the 26th, a barber shop in Astoria on May 7th, which is going to be interesting. I don't have all the info, but I'll just leave it at those two for the time being.
All right. Bill, what do you got?
I am in a Beatles tribute called Number 9. We are gearing up for our summer concert series run that we do all summer. We're in about a month's time. We're going to be playing for a fundraiser for my daughter's school in Bolton, which is going to be taking place at Villa Luisa in Bolton. If anybody wants to know anything about that or how to get tickets to it, it's a formal event. But if anybody wants to support my daughter, support the band, support the school, just let me know and I can get you the information.
All right.
And then you can go to number9info.com for our dates.
That's key. Corey, post that.
Is that with a numeral?
Yeah. Yep. And the word number.
Yeah, number9info.com.
Yes.
There we go. For all those of you interested. And we're marking that down in the calendar. Are you alive? Craig Reedman, are you alive?
I am alive. I was just trying to get the dates so I'm not screwed up here. So I will give.
Yeah, I was actually. You know what? I'm going to, since James is not here, I'm going to plug his podcast, Common Everyday People, is out now. They had a new episode last week. Make sure you check it out. I got to do the Common Everyday People podcast a couple months ago. Absolutely loved it. We love you, James. Have a wonderful trip. May it be better.
He was watching. Did you see that he was watching tonight?
I love
from the cruise ship. I saw him watching.
That is, I think, so eerie. I can only imagine how that conversation went down. But yes, check out the Common Everyday People podcast, out now wherever you listen to podcasts.
So, I guess this weekend we don't really need to plug your gig, but Steff, we're going to be on Long Island Sunday.
The Island.
Long
420 or Easter, however you want to go with it. We will be there for a private party.
He has risen very high this year.
Yes.
It'll still be going. It'll still be going on during Passover. He has risen. The bread has not. And in this case, jobless.
All right. But and we'll probably start promoting this also next week. The great Lee Oscar will be coming to Connecticut. And there are tickets still available at the JCC, I believe.
We will post from our page. Steff, we're gonna post from our page.
So that's the 24th, Thursday night in West Hartford. Corey, you got 2 gigs next week. You're playing solo at the Ford in Medford, Mass, and then you have a private party at the Tradesman in Charleston, Massachusetts. So another weekend in Massachusetts. I at this month, last week was like the only week we were in Rhode Island instead of being in Massachusetts. So, but anyway, lots of cool stuff. For those of you who need to know, tomorrow you do need to file your taxes if you have not done it yet. Got mine done. Yes.
Thank God you finally got your taxes done, because trust me, all of us were feeling it.
It was a rough go. It was for 5 days. I'm sitting through this, figuring things out. It was like, all right, is this a write-off? I think I could write this off. This is legit. This is
I know
good.
you do have, there is a very sick corner of your brain that actually kind of enjoys it just a little bit.
It
Because
also
it's
makes
you,
me
that's
watch
you,
it.
I was going to say, it's you fighting, that's your way of you fighting the man.
I fought the man, and I think I won. But that's
You and Joe Strummer, good for you.
yes. I think I won. But anyway, it is now 9:33, 3 minutes past the show ending, and we're still on the air. And look at that piece of jewelry.
It's actually pretty heavy.
That my heart will.
This actually comes off.
Oh,
There you go.
Actually comes off. You just wear the chain. I've done that before.
I think Lisa
But
has
anyway.
it like a pin. But it is very, very cool. And we've gone to, by the way, there are Titanic exhibits across the country. We have done that. And the first time I think we ever did that was in Durham, North Carolina. We had a very long trip.
yes,
And-
that's right.
We stopped there, and I'll never forget because the hotel we were staying at lost electricity.
Oh.
It was a debacle, but we did get to go to the exhibit, the Titanic exhibit. And for those of you they had the same exhibit all across the country. And I think we went to another one later. You got to be one of the guests, and at the end, you'd find out if you lived or you died.
Yeah.
You found out who they were, and it gave you the whole thing. And you went through the whole exhibit and what happened, and at the end, you found out, yes, I won, or, well, at least I got to be a super rich guy and being a Mr. Astor for about 5 seconds. So,
Yeah. Do you remember the perfume bottles? That was one thing that struck me, was they had it in plexiglass. There was a perfume salesman on the ship, and the perfume went down, and they found the bottles and brought them up, and you could open up this thing and smell the perfume that still smelled like it was new.
Damn.
It was very eerie.
wow.
Yeah.
And that's a hell of a way to end the show.
And the show.
All right, bye everybody.
Yeah. So
What's the name of that
That-
perfume?
Yeah, right.
Chanel number 5 feet under.
Yeah.
oh,
Oh my god.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the comedian is here. All right. Good night, everybody. We're over.
Good night. Thanks, guys.
yeah.